Hello out there, and today we are doing an unboxing. Yeah, it's an unboxing because it is a special occasion. It is the first new Kershaw of 2019 that I'm picking up. Wanted to get a first impression, a real first impression of it. As you can see, there is a hole cut out of this package from where I removed my address, but it is still sealed. And this one is called the Seguin or the Seguin, depending on how you pronounce it. I've heard it from the Kershaw people called the Seguin, but there's a hockey player that I follow who his last name is Seguin, and it's spelled the same way, so who knows. Let's just get in here and just cut the rest of this open and get the box out. I also did take advantage, and I rarely do this, but I did take advantage with Blade HQ of the Blade HQ drawing. Oh, that's super cool. The Blade HQ drawing kind of request that you can do, or you ask them to draw a picture for you. And look at that. I said, draw me a Star Wars picture, and yeah, episode 3 right there. Anakin, Obi-Wan, right before the guy loses his legs. Tough break, but very cool. All right, so thank you to Blade HQ for that. Always interesting and fun to see stuff like that. But yeah, as you can see, this one is called the 3490, and just the spelling of it, I guess there are multiple pronunciations, and it is a name, so people, you know, it is named after somebody. So people definitely have their own pronunciations of names, so but here it is. And this one is heavy. It is a beefy knife. It is all stainless steel. Has some nice milling and machining. And this is a Les George design. A lot of Les George stuff coming out of Kershaw this year, which is exciting. And most of it is speed safe, but I think there's 1 or 2 models that are just really good looking and manual as well. So that'll be interesting. But this is one that sort of caught my eye, because the all stainless steel and the texturing, just the overall shape. I'm a big fan of the Les George designs, just in general for the look of them. And this knife, see guys, I unbox the knife and within like 30 seconds, I'm checking the lockup. That's what I do. Sort of calling back to the CRKT issues I've had recently. You know, like, I want to know, first thing. That's what I think most people would do, right? Anyway, so lockup on it is really good. So what we have is an 8CR13 MOV coated blade. It's got that, I guess they call it the PVD coating. And then the hardware and the clip matches. We've seen this before on a lot of Kershaw models. It does make for a pretty good aesthetic look. And then as we move on back, completely stainless steel frame lock. We do have the liner on this side that houses the speed safe mechanism. That's why you have a liner on top of the stainless steel frame. The machining here is actually, let's try to get this up close and focused. The machining here is actually really good. It's good, and it actually provides a good amount of texture. Like right here that's nice. Like really nice. All right. The pivot is basically like a custom pivot. It looks like, and let me get a bit. So yeah, it looks like T6 hardware and then T8 pivot as expected. A little bit of jimping up top, ergonomically with my hands. Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. There's the lockup. Centering is pretty decent. Very nice and snappy. So yeah, I mean, these designs, these Les George designs that they've made into speed safe knives, like the Weston that I'm really big fan of. This one actually looks more like some of his other styled work, like the Pico from a couple years ago. Yeah, big fan of it though. The clip is pretty neat too. Let's take a look at that real quick. Here it is in the closed position, and I'll get the weight in a second after we look at the clip. So this is a deep carry pocket clip. As you can see, if I can get this in focus, it's not going to be reversible to the other side. And I don't know, maybe it's not even removable. I'm sure it's removable, but you'd have to take the whole knife apart. So there's that, but it's pretty slim. And when you have the knife in hand, I mean, it does not, you don't even feel that it's there. So they did a good job with that, because a lot of times, especially on budget blades, if you're going to have some hot spots, a lot of times it's with the clip just jutting into your hand. I hold my knives left-handed, so it's not an issue for me usually, but something I'm always keeping in mind. Yeah, and I know a lot of people just aren't big fans of speed safe and they prefer manual, and overall I prefer manual, but when Kershaw has a good variety, it doesn't really bother me too much to have a nice assisted opening mechanism, especially when it's nice and snappy, and this one seems to be executed well. Let me grab the scale real quick and give you a look at that, and then actually we'll pull in some other knives for size comparison. Sorry that I didn't do that immediately. Yeah, so 4.85, and that's what you're going to get, you know, stainless steel frame. There isn't any real amount of milling on the inside. You know, obviously there's the milling behind the liner for the speed safe mechanism, but on the other side, you know, it's just basically just this big slab of stainless steel. So yeah, it is going to be a little bit heavy. Let's see, what do we have here? We always have the Paramilitary 2 on the table. For size comparison, that's not the Paramilitary 2, that's the Kaiser Dukes. Here's the Paramilitary 2, all right. So Paramilitary 2 lined up with the edges, we have about, yeah, an extra 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of cutting edge on the PM2. You can see the overall length though. What's another good one? Spyderco Sage 5. Yeah, a little bit bigger than that knife, and large Polar, because why not? All right, yeah, guys. So that is basically that's basically it. Just wanted to give a first look, an unboxing of the knife. All right, guys, and it's been about 2 weeks since I filmed that unboxing and first got this Kershaw Seguin. And yeah, I just wanted to do a follow-up and combine it all into one video so you can just get everything you need to know about it and, you know, my more in-depth thoughts all in one place. So let's talk a little bit about what I've noticed in the past couple weeks of having this knife. The first one is ergonomics related. One thing that I was a little bit concerned about after I, you know, took a little bit of a closer look at the knife was just this jimping. And you can even see from here, the jimping is just very rounded. It doesn't go all the way to the edge, and so it isn't particularly grippy. It doesn't grab the thumb all that well. It's not really sharp enough, and I worried that in hand while you're using the knife it might be a little bit of an issue, but over the time that I was actually cutting with this knife and breaking down boxes, I had zero issues with it. My thumb was actually able to lock in pretty well. The knife is just very, very comfortable. It's heavy, but it's very comfortable, and I didn't have any hot spots at all, and the jimping was just fine. You know, the other configuration that I use my knives in a lot is sort of like this for pull cuts. You know, as you're trying to do like any kind of detail work, as I'm adjusting with cardboard and doing like the little stuff, or, you know, a lot of times just pulling towards me, and this was very comfortable as well. There's not a lot of, you know, apart from this design on the edges here, there's not like extra machining, but it is done pretty well to the point that there's no sharpness, no hot spots. So yeah, just very happy with the way this knife was in hand during performance. No, like even when you're bearing down, I didn't have any issues with like pushing the lock bar too far or anything like that. So happy with the knife as far as that goes. The other big thing I want to talk about is edge retention and the 8CR13 MOV. For me, I tested this knife specifically on 2 different occasions. I broke down a bunch of boxes once, and then basically when the knife went dull, I brought it back inside, and then a couple days later, I did the same thing. And I did have to touch the knife up on my Spyderco Sharp Maker. You know, it's not going to go forever. I had probably 15 to 20 minutes cutting with a whole bunch of like wet and soft and crappy cardboard, and, you know, just it cut really well and was able to keep going on the regular stuff. But once, you know, I got to some pieces that were that like 2-ply, double corrugated, whatever you want to call it, that really heavy duty stuff, this thing just, it was too dull and just couldn't get through it. And So yeah, I had to call it quits. The good news though is, and the thing that I like about 8CR is it's so easy to work with, guys. It took me less than 5 minutes on the Spyderco Sharp Maker. Just touched it up. The first time I touched it up, all I used was the fine stones. And yeah, within 5 minutes, I had a really good working edge on it again. And to be honest, on my best day, my sharpening skills are mediocre. So anyone could really do this and get that edge back. And then after I went back in and broke down a lot more boxes with it the other day, sharpened it up again, went a little more thorough, and the edge on it now is almost as good as it was from factory. So pretty happy with that. And as much as I do agree that, you know, edge retention is a big deal and I want to have better steels when I can get them, it is very nice to have something that's so easy to get back to where you need it to be. One more thing, and it's not really a bummer or a deal breaker, but is something that you definitely need to know, especially if you're interested in like the look of the knife and you think that it's attractive and you like this coating. The coating isn't going to hold up. It just won't. I mean, I used the knife, like I said, on just a couple occasions heavily, and there's already a ton of scratches. And if I'm not able to get it in focus right now, I'll just splice in some video or some photos. You can see all the scratches here that are on the knife just from use. I'll try to get the light to hit them, especially up by where like the swedge is. You know, it's just a lot of like fading and wear on the coating. And you can also see it on the pivot as well. You know, and it's one of those things where this side is actually even worse. It's one of those things where I don't think it really hurts the overall look of the knife. I think it's actually a little bit cool. But it's something you should definitely know. And I think Kershaw should maybe even market it that way, that, hey, like this coating looks really good out of the box and it's going to look really like cool and used once you put some wear on it, but it's not going to hold up. It's something that definitely, you know, should be made clear. And then also, let me try to get the light to hit it. Lots of snail trails on the finish on the stainless steel, like lots of them. And again, I use this knife to break down boxes for a little bit of time on a couple different occasions, but this is not a lot of use on this knife yet, and you're already seeing a lot of wear. Oh, there we go. You know, on this side. And again, I actually think that over time, the look of this frame is going to be improved. So I'd call it a positive thing, but it's definitely something that I think Kershaw should make people aware of, and they could actually, like I said, market it that way, because it does have a nice worn look to it once you break it in. Overall, for the $38 price point, it's a good offering. There's better, there's worse, there's stuff that's not speed safe, there's stuff that's higher end materials. Even from Kershaw, you know, this is sort of, I'd say, a middle of the road kind of knife. 10-15 bucks cheaper, it would be an absolute home run at this price point. If you are really into the design and you like the Les George kind of style, and you know, you're really into this kind of beater knife, then I'd recommend it. But there is just a whole lot out there, guys, at this price point. Better materials if you're really into the materials. So while I'm pretty happy with it myself and I like the way that it performed, I'm not going to say that this is head and shoulders above anything else that's out there. So that's really my take. Like I said, happy with the purchase, but there is a lot more else to be had on the marketplace. Any other questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below. Really appreciate you watching. Take care and have a good one.